Hey Mustangs, this is going to be a really short introduction to the carbon cycle, and what I'm going to ask you to do is go on to our class website, and when you go on there you're going to find links to other YouTube videos very similar to this that go over the full things, including some really interesting videos that you can watch about the carbon cycle. Next class we will review before we actually take the test, but if you really want to get ahead, make sure you understand everything, go ahead and go to our class website and make sure that you check those videos so that way you know what you're doing when it comes to the carbon cycle. Alright, oh, and you can also check your water cycle as well if you go to our class website and go to the links there for the YouTube video about the water cycle. Alright, so let's go ahead. We're going to do a really short, simple introduction to the carbon cycle. So what you're going to need is this paper here. So it's the back of the biogeochemical cycles paper, and on the back here is the carbon cycle. You want to find this area, super simplified carbon cycle between atmosphere, plants, and animals. Below it is a really complex one. When we do this, you're going to be able to fill this in really easy. So after we're done with this together, go ahead, fill this in on your own as best you can. And the words are down here. It tells you words that you could fill into the blanks here, and also tells you if it's used more than once that there's 2 or more. Okay? Alright, so let's go ahead and get started on this. So with our super simplified carbon cycle, we start with the atmosphere. Go ahead, write this down on your paper in the super simplified section. And in the atmosphere there is carbon dioxide. That's primarily what carbon exists as in the atmosphere. Now, in the atmosphere, it's not useful to living things, and living things need carbon. Living things are made out of carbon. So, during the process of photosynthesis, plants bring carbon into the carbon cycle. We're going to write plants right here. Okay, so plants bring carbon into the carbon cycle. From there, plants are eaten by animals. Okay, and when animals eat plants, we call that consumption. They consume them. Okay. From there, we have the animals. They are going to exhale, and when they exhale, they breathe out carbon dioxide. But we don't want to just call it breathing. It's called respiration. Okay. And another thing that happens is when animals die. Okay, when animals die, decomposers break apart their bodies, and when the decomposers break apart their bodies, that releases carbon back out into the ecosystem and into the atmosphere as well. So we call that, when decomposers break down dead things, decomposition. Okay, so that is the carbon cycle, very simplified. And the reason we say it's simplified is because, think about it, plants die as well. So they're going to release carbon during decomposition here, and they also, a lot of people don't know, go through respiration, where they don't breathe like we do, but they release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere in very small amounts. Alright, additionally, what we want to add to this is the human things, the human element, what humans do. So what we can add here is these little wiggly lines that are pointing up to the atmosphere. So 1, 2. Okay. Humans are throwing this carbon cycle off balance, and what they're doing is basically putting too much carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So the way they do that is, one way is cutting down mass amounts of trees, and when we cut down mass amounts of trees, that's called deforestation. That releases carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And then there's also another thing that we do on a large scale, and that's burning coal, oil, gasoline. All those things are what we call fossil fuels, and that really releases an enormous amount of carbon into the atmosphere as well. So these two things that are releasing large amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere are going to interfere in this natural process. This is naturally how it works, and it works very well. We are the human element, we are adding more carbon dioxide and disrupting this cycle. Alright, so now that we have this, you should be able to fill in the bottom page here of the carbon cycle. It looks a little bit more complex, but when you look at the arrows and what's going on, you should be able to figure out that each of these things that we talked about here actually are going to apply here. All right. So don't forget, when you get home, go to our class website to check out the full videos, the links, check your water cycle, make sure you did that correctly. And these videos will also help you study as well. Also, feel free when you're watching these videos, stop, rewind, pause, whatever you need to do to make sure you understand the information. All right, I will see you next class, and don't forget to study.